And let's bring in retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton, NewsNation senior national security contributor, and Miad Maleki, I want to get that right, is a senior fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you very much for being here on this Memorial Day. It's so important to have you both talk about the issues at hand here. So let's start with you, Miad. You've taken on this Iranian regime as a member of the Treasury Department. How weakened do you think that they are right now?
Well, thanks for having me on. I don't think they've ever been weaker than they are today. Economically, they are in a very bad spot. Let's go back to January, even before the beginning to this blockade or beginning of this war. They had to kill over 30,000 Iranians on the streets, protesters who were really standing up to this regime for its economic mismanagement and social issues that they're facing. So now things are way worse for them with this blockade that is taking out about $435 million a day in trade from Iran, blocking their oil export and trade and imports. Politically, they've lost tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 political leaders. And then militarily, they've seen a major degradation to their missiles and drone program. So they've just never been in a spot that they are today since 1979. Islamic Republic Revolution, and to President Trump's credit, he has created a leverage on this regime that no U.S. president has ever had since that revolution.
General, to bring you in now, President Trump has said any deal must see Iran giving up its nuclear stockpile. And publicly, at least, Iran is playing hardball at this point. But since these talks are still happening, should we assume that Iran is putting some nuclear concessions on the table?
I'm not sure, but it's good to be with you, Laura, and also with a fellow Air Force veteran, Miad, here tonight. I don't think really Iran is putting forth any type of significant concessions. I think their objective here is to delay, is to hang on as long as they can. And finally, at the end of the day, the Islamic regime is really, their objective is to survive, and frankly, survive and fight and win another day, perhaps. But I don't look forward to many concessions at all coming out of Iran. I think they're playing as hard ball as they possibly can. However, to Miad's point, a key point here is that they are in perhaps the worst position they've been in, perhaps even in decades up to this point, with regard to their conditions economically and so forth. And the fact of starting back on June 22nd with Midnight Hammer, which was preceded by an Israeli air campaign, all the way up through our ceasefire on April 7th. And so, but here we are. They've got some leverage with regard to threatening commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, although we've conducted a very effective naval blockade. It's just, again, they've created, some tension, obviously, here with regard to threatening the Strait, but also have got some leverage. But we've got a long way to go on this either setting up an MOU or continuing on with military operations.
And Miad, it's so challenging because so much is still unknown about what a final deal will look like. In your opinion, is that non-negotiable that President Trump needs to secure to make sure that this military campaign was worth it?
Well, I mean, that was a great point that the general just raised. I mean, just very quickly, this is how the Iranian regime operates under pressure. They have a very practiced playbook. They drag out negotiations, make public statements of defiance, and then continue to use back channels to keep negotiations going just long enough to buy time and wait for what I would say the political winds in Washington to shift, or wait for the American public to lose interest, or the new administration to come in and offer some type of relief to them. They've done this across every nuclear negotiations and every maximum pressure campaign and every administration for 40 years. Now, the question here this time is whether this economic math has really changed and whether the pressure is severe enough and sustained enough to really change that playbook and make it not workable for the regime. Now, at this point, with the blockade, they can't continue to drag their feet with negotiations. They're stuck. They're really diplomatically, they've never been so isolated. These Gulf Arab states, they've been giving Iran means and ways to bypass and evade sanctions, U.S. sanctions, for years. Now they're pushing these same Gulf nations closer to Israel and the U.S. after attacking them with their missiles and drones during the war. So at the end of the day, even if we take out the blockade and and put an end to this conflict in a ceasefire that doesn't give the regime a kind of a major sanctions relief, they're going to go back to where they were in January in a much worse situation economically. Their inflation rate is going to go much higher because war is kind of suppressing the market demand. So things are just going to keep getting worse for them. So they have to make this deal to make as a win to them. And it would be, I think I'm hoping President Trump, and I'm very skeptical that President Trump would give them that chance.
And General, let's talk about Plan B. If this deal falls apart, as we've seen happen before when dealing with Iran, does the Pentagon already have plans drawn up for strikes to resume? We have to assume so because of the military might that's over there. Or do we keep up the ceasefire and try another round of talks? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to share a sentiment with Miad. I hope that we get to a diplomatic solution here at the end of the day. However, I'm very skeptical of that, as I mentioned earlier. Absolutely. Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of U.S. Central Command, has provided the president with a range of military options that go from countering, Iranians' offensive capabilities in and around the Strait of Hormuz, to going into Iran, specifically going after the resurgence of their ballistic missile production, drone production, as well as their launchers and retaliatory capability, as well as going after what's left with regard to their pursuit of nuclear weapons development programs at the sites that we didn't get to necessarily back on June 22nd. I'd still call it a target-rich environment. When we ceased military operations back on April 7th, my sources tell me that we really had about perhaps 10 to 12 more days of tactical operations inside of Iran. That would also include Israel. Let's not forget them. They have a very potent Air Force, and they would certainly, I would expect them to join in should we resume military strikes and so forth. But that's leverage that the United States has with significant capability. There's also other things to do, perhaps in the Persian Gulf itself. There's Karg Island, there's other areas, but first and foremost, you've got to go after the grip that they have on the Strait of Hormuz with their offensive short-range ballistic missiles and drones and other capabilities, employment of sea mines. And then I would also go very hard against their interior targets that I just mentioned.
All right. Well, we'd love to have you guys back on again very soon as we move through this ever-developing story. General Richard Newton and Miad Maleki, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.